All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you for jumping on today. I want to kind of have, I guess, some specific things to cover. Usually, we'll do like Q&A scenarios, situations, role playing, things like that, and all that. That is very beneficial, very helpful, especially as we get into our day. Because how many know that, nobody has the market corner of life just sucking. You know what I mean? Like where you're like, no, life just like extra sucks for me. That sucks for everybody. Like life is just life. It just does what it does. There's storms that we're either in, going into, or coming out of. It's the cycle. And does it ever stop? No, it just doesn't. Do we learn how to navigate and have some wisdom in how to navigate through those in a better way at a higher level? Yes. As we get exposed to more of them, we realize that we're not going to die as we go through them. We can respond differently, and a lot of times that just helps set us up to be able to go out there and tackle the next storm, the next Goliath, the next giant on our way to take more ground, whether that's in your family, faith, fitness, business, all those kind of things. And so that's going to happen. But I think oftentimes when we start to believe that we are just exposed to just like the business sucking for a period of time, like you just don't understand, do my personal sales, my leads, my this, my that, my team, the agents I'm working with, when we start to buy into that, that's a tough spot to be because now we're not moving through the storm. It's kind of like you're pitching a tent. It's like I'm just going to camp out here. It's like, bro, you don't want to set up a tent and start cooking hot dogs and hamburgers, bro. When you're going through the junk, when you're going through the storm, you want to keep your feet moving. You want to keep driving through and getting to the other side of that storm. So I just want to remind you guys, like, no matter what it looks like, nobody has that market corner. So these calls are intended to kind of help set your mind up where you can compartmentalize, where you can say, although I've got this going on, this situation taking place, this maybe is going on personally, I got to make sure that I turn that off and I get my mind fully focused on the task at hand. The one thing I do know to be true as well, it's kind of like a paradox. What you think is isn't, what you think isn't is. And I've seen this personally for myself. I've seen this for a lot of agents, and be clear, I'm not trying to demean or belittle whatever you may have gone through or whatever you may be going through currently. And I don't know what that is, and I don't pretend that all things are equal, right? Like if you just lost a parent or a child, or you just got to die, like there's different things that are going to be heavier, right? But what I do know is that in this business, when because you've got autonomy over your schedule, you can kind of do what you want to do, truly, like it's up to you, you're independent. That when those things happen, when life kind of starts, screaming at you, maybe that's just different things you've got going on, it's easy to kind of slide off and work less. And the antidote to that is to really like lean in more, because when you're working, when you're focused, when you're not distracted, when you put the blinders on, like those things that are screaming at you, they don't hold as much weight. I remember this old cliche that a guy that I was working with early on, one of my early mentors, he was from the South. He was an absolute redneck, and he would say, "Hey man, a dog in the hunt has no fleas." And I was like, what does that even mean, bro? He's like, a dog that's hunting, it might have fleas. It don't know it's got fleas because it's in attack. But a dog that's just kicking it on the porch, man, it's picking at itself, like it knows it's got fleas. And I think that's so applicable in this business, man. Like we've all got fleas, right? Like we've all got stuff that happens. Life just kind of does what it does. But when you're hunting, when you're on the phones, when you're talking to clients, where you have to be positioned where it's really not about you, it's got to be about them, and you're serving. It's kind of like scripture says, man, if you want to be encouraged, be an encouragement to others. If you want to be refreshed, refresh others, right? And so, the goal is like, let's go hunt. And then all the other things that seem to be fleas that are trying to get us off track, trying to mess us up, trying to get us to perform at a lower level, trying to get us to get to the other side of that storm, they just seem not to be there, right? They just seem not to be there. So, anyways, I just wanted to, I don't know, that wasn't even what I was going to talk about. I don't even know how I got there, but maybe that was helpful for somebody. All right. So, what I really want to go through is talking about like analyzing, and I guess let's talk about like interrogating your reality. So, you've all got goals, you know, and typically the goal is out there and then you're right here, right? There's a gap to cross between where you're at and where you want to go. And that there should always be a gap. You can say there ain't a gap for me. Well, let me just break some news to you, bro. Like that means you're complacent, and complacency is like nasty. Like be clear. No matter what season of life I've been in, I've had lack, I've had a lot. Um, I feel most fulfilled not when I just have a lot. It's when I'm growing, when I'm crossing a gap. And there's been places where I'm like, I get to the other side. I'm like, dude, this is further than I ever expected I was going to get. Whether that's financially, business, organization, production, whatever. And the temptation is like, man, I've arrived. And the moment you just kind of think that you've arrived and you don't have another gap to chase or to march through, that's typically where you feel the most depleted. So the reality is like there should always be a gap in every area of your life. That's even fitness. You're like, dude, I just never thought I'd have a six pack, and you just start kicking it. Or, bro, that's the day that you just decided you're about to lose that dang six pack. You're not going to feel good because like the fulfillment is the growth. It's getting a little bit better every day, like 1% better every day. That's where the fulfillment is, and that's why I say this business. It's either the highest pain or the lowest pain. It's the most fulfilling or it's the most depressing. It's both. And people are like, oh, it's all good. It's not really, dude. It swings between two absolute extremes, meaning that there's people that we've got, and I've seen a lot of people make seven figures, 500 grand, 700 grand, $2 million a year. Like I'm talking hundreds of agents that I've worked with, that I've seen, that have been a part of that. I've witnessed their testimony, like their breakthrough. They started, I mean, heck, I'm one of them. I was making minimum wage and then grew one of the largest organizations and had an exit. Like I was pumping septic tanks before. So I've seen so many of that. But as great as that is, the truth is there's like 100 times more agents that make nothing. Like there's a lot of agents with Pinnacle that do they crush it and make a lot. And dude, there's more that just are like barely breathing. That are like their nose is like slightly above water and like just one little like slip away from being underneath water. So like it's both. And then there's agents that man, they're like super fulfilled and they're just like they never thought that this would be the life they got to live, man. They're incredibly grateful. They get to work their schedule. They're disciplined. They earn the right to be at kids' soccer games, do these other things in life that they didn't have the ability to do before. They're winning with their business. They're winning in personal sales. And usually that's tied to very hyper disciplines in their schedule and being able to say no to a lot of things, being able to participate in delayed gratification, paying the price, sacrificing in the short term to be able to now experience some long-term beautiful things. And so that's a great thing. But there's also agents that are very depressed because they're like, their confidence is lower, their self-esteem is lower. Why? Because they know what they want to get, they know what they want to accomplish, they know what they need to do in their schedule. They've made some promises to themselves as far as what they're going to do, but then they're not doing it. And so obviously when you make promises to yourself that you don't keep, that makes you feel more insecure, that drops confidence, that leads to not fulfillment, right? And so it's both. And it's not one or the other forever. Like there's a teeter-totter between the two that you may fall into and might be in a level two here, one season level seven, level eight. But what I'm saying, guys, is like it's both. It's both. It's like he who is given much, much is required. So like, yeah, this is a blessing where it can lead to significant gratification, but also there's a lot of responsibility, and this could equally lead to something that's not good. The good news is the choice is ours. That's the beautiful thing, is like really understand like, do we get the ability to make that choice? And no matter what it looks like up until today, we have a choice today, and then we'll have a choice tomorrow, and then we'll have a choice the next day. And we have the ability to craft that, design that, and put that in place. That's a beautiful thing. And so really what I want to talk about is this gap. So let's just all come to this conclusion that you've got a gap. Hopefully, you know what the gap is, right? Because you know your goals, you know what you're going after, you know what you want to write this month, you know what you want to write this week, and therefore you know what you want to write today. You know what your team should look like. You know how many writers you want to have on your team this month. You know how many writers you want to have on your team in 2 months, and 3 months, and 4 months. Like you've got a vision. Because the first thing is if you can't see it, you'll never see it. You got to first see it here so you can see it in reality, right? You got to have that vision. A man without vision, a business owner without vision, a producer without vision will eventually perish, which means that they never make it across the gap. They die in the gap. So you got to have vision. Like, what does it look like? So now let's just identify you've got a gap. If you don't have a gap, I would implore you to make sure you identify what your gap looks like when we hop off the call today. But you've got a gap. Now the question is like, what is causing you not to get across the gap? You're like, dude, I feel like I'm moving and going nowhere. I want to pack the specific things that will hold you back from crossing your gap. And I can just tell you, after doing this thing for 19 years, it's about the same every time. Just like a client's not coming up with a new objection, an agent doesn't all of a sudden come up where this one's just like there's some crazy new affliction or reason on why they're not making it across the gap. Like I can predict it. It's like it's 2 + 2 is 4. This is what it is. Number one is your lead strategy is why you don't make it across the gap. And by the way, I want you to be open-minded. I don't want you to, in your mind, because just like walk with me. I want to help you, and I really do. Like I love you guys, and I know that this is the reason why you're not maybe where you want to be, or if you are, the reason why you maybe won't be in 3 months if you've got a new gap. What does your lead strategy look like? And I don't want you to justify it and say like, "Oh, I'm good." Oh, I already know that. This is you as a business owner, as an independent contractor, as an entrepreneur, as your own independent marketing organization that you could eventually sell. This is you asking yourself, what does your leads look like? What is your strategy? Now, I'm going to address the investment side. Okay, because the investment side is really where it all rests. Jordan knows this. Like we've been doing this long enough where we've had seasons where we work only final expense direct mail leads and we write 40 grand a month. Seasons where we work only direct mail mortgage leads, we write 40,000 a month. Seasons where I'm dialing all my leads and I write 40,000 a month. Seasons where I dial none of the leads and I have a VA in the Philippines sending appointments and I write 40,000 a month. Seasons where I'm working only internet leads that are like $1 a lead and I don't even know if it's a real lead or if it's from the phone book and I write 40,000 a month. Seasons where it's an inbound lead, write 40,000. Dude, it doesn't matter. Now, the reality is if you think it matters, then what you're probably doing is overlooking what you're actually investing, not just today, because then the problem is like, you're like, well, dude, I invested the right amount. Dude, I invested $1,000 this week. Okay, Tonto, did you invest $1,000 last week, and the week before, and the week before, and the week before? Because if you invested $300 last week, $500 a week before, $600 a week before, $200 a week before, and this week's your first week that you invested 2 grand, bro, like, what are you talking about? Are you the guy that gets sucked into the 6 pack in 6 minutes? Bro, that doesn't work. You don't get a 6 pack in 6 minutes. So I want you to realize that if you start thinking it's the lead strategy, and then you start looking at like, well, what is that group doing? What is that group doing? What is that person doing? Dude, like you're now going to be trying to move your feet. You're going to be going nowhere because the problem isn't what the other groups are doing, because to the point, there's a lot of groups doing it differently, getting different leads, and they all have 40K month producers. So that's not the problem. The problem I really want you to look at is legitimately going back through and asking yourself, what did you invest last week? What did you invest the week before? What did you invest the week before? And go back as far as you guys can go back and actually take a real look at it. Not what you think, not what you feel, because guys, feelings are fleeting. It's why what is it, Weight Watchers? It's like why does Weight Watchers work? Like they like, I mean, if I remember right, I remember seeing the commercials like you could eat a brownie, you could eat all that. Well, it's because most people they don't think they're eating as much as they're eating. They're like, there's no way. It's like, yeah, you are eating 7,000 calories. That's why you look but once you start tracking and just the mere simple discipline of tracking it, doing nothing else, all of a sudden you start losing weight. Why? Because you can't expect what you don't inspect. You can't defeat what you don't define, and you can't change what you don't define. So I got to first define and get a reality of what does it really look like? Really, really important. Now, if you're like, well, dude, I don't have the money to invest in leads. Okay, good. What's the solution? You're an entrepreneur. You're a business owner. Like you can't buy excuses. I had an old mentor say, Paul, you can't deposit excuses and money. You got to choose which one. And that's the truth. Like either you got excuses or you got money. More excuses, less money. Less excuses, more money. So you might identify that you don't have money, and that's why you haven't invested in leads like you need to. But the question is, entrepreneur, what are your solutions? See, the moment you start just to have a problem, not a solution, that's a moment you're stuck in the gap. That's a moment you're not going to get better. And that's honestly the moment I don't really want to talk to you. I love you, but it's like bring me solutions. Like I'm good with you bringing me problems as long as you also have three solutions tied to it. So you might say, Paul, dude, like I know I need to invest 2 grand a week in leads, but dude, I don't have it. Okay, what's your solutions? Well, I don't know. Well, go figure it out and bring me back the solutions. Well, that's why I'm coming to you. I don't know the solutions. No, that's lazy. Like, think it through. What are the solutions? Well, I don't know. Well, could you call War Market? Well, maybe. Okay, great. Is that a solution? Well, yes, that's a solution. You probably have somebody that you know that you've not talked to, that if you talk to, that costs you no money, and you can make a sale to. Do you have clients that you've helped before? If you've been in this business and you've made some sales, the answer would be yes. Okay, that's a solution. Can you call those clients and see about adding additional policies and maybe getting referrals and doing an emergency response network? Well, Paul, I think I've already kind of done that. Dude, like I'm not trying to like sell yourself all day long. Like that's the problem. A lot of times we're selling ourselves on the fact that we've done our best. Like, bro, like that's dangerous. Like you don't want that to be the case. Because if that's the case, like you're dying in the gap. Like you don't want to be like, nobody could have helped that client. I did everything I could. What? Why would you want that to be the case? You want to be like, dude, somebody could have helped that person, even though they spoke no English and we didn't know how to communicate each other's language. I think somebody could help them because you're right. You could have. Could you have asked the client, hey, very important, can you grab a kid? Like there's always a solution. Like that's the thing you gotta. There's always a solution. So I remember watching that show Suits, which is by the way, a great series to watch if you want to watch one. But this series, like the Harvey Specter, he's just a dog. Why is he a dog? He's not a dog for any other reason. Like he always believes there's a way out. There's always a solution. You might be watching like, dude, there's no way this guy's getting out of this litigation situation. And his whole motto is like, dude, you could always flip the gun around. The gun's at you, pointed, you could always flip it around. There's always a way to spin it around, and now the gun's pointing at them. There's always a solution. But if you're not focused on solution, you're focused on problem. It goes back to the old adage and the universal truth that dude, what you focus on expands. Bro, you keep thinking about the damn problem and you're wondering why the problem gets bigger. It's what you're looking at, dude. What you magnify multiplies. Why do you want more problems? Like focus on the solution. So really looking at, dude, a lot of you guys, if you looked at your ratio, and I can't tell you how many breakthrough moments I've had for agents where they go to a conference and they think that these other people are just super gifted. These other people just have the best leads. These other people just like have this inherent, you know, DNA that makes them so they get all these things where they kind of put them on a pedestal. And then the person at a conference is like, well, you know, I do like 30 presentations a week and I only close 7 of them. And like, dude, and you start doing your actual ratio because most people don't even know your ratio, which that's the first step. We're unpacking ratios like leads. Do you have an idea of what your lead strategy looks like? Because that's step one. Like, have you convinced yourself you invest in the right amount of leads? Because the truth is, I've had so many agents be like, dude, I'm actually better than that person. I've just only been buying $500 a week in leads. And I did the math and the ratio. If I did $2,000 a week, I would write more than them. Bro, I promise you guys, like that's been the case so many times. And then the person starts investing $2,000 a week in leads, and all of a sudden they're a top producer. That's so many people's stories, you wouldn't believe it. But they had up until that point in time convinced themselves that they were just doing what they could do. Bro, like I'm just investing what I can. It all goes back in. Well, bro, if all goes back in is $500, you're never gonna really get ahead. Go out and figure out how to go make a couple more sales this week. I don't care if you're knocking on 65 doors to make one more sale. That's a solution as well. There's solutions. But you've been buying the lie of like maybe it's because you don't want to get uncomfortable. You don't want to. I mean, I don't know. There's some psychological barriers, belief system barriers. But what I'm saying is like that's a thing. Okay, I beat that up quite a bit, but you got to really look at that and then fix it. The second thing is activity. What is your KPIs? If you don't know your KPIs, guys, like I mean, I think it's common sense. Like, what business that you know of doesn't know all their metrics? They know all of them. Like, if you're gonna sell your business, you gotta like you should know all your metrics: how many dials, how many contacts, how many presentations, how many closes. You should know that every single day. And then you should, on Sunday nights, when you reflect your KPIs, you'll be able to derive a ratio. That's so comforting. Like I built confidence and comfort, like from just knowing that no matter what I felt like, no matter what I thought, that numbers are not, they don't lie. I can't beat them and they cannot beat me. And so once I had a ratio, I knew what I was going to write each week. It wasn't hypothetical, guys. Like I knew, it was just as good as a salary employee. I knew I was going to make 5 grand this week or 7 grand this week. I just knew because numbers are numbers. I knew that if I made X amount of presentations, that every presentation meant that I was making $300, and every close meant I was making $1,000. And then I knew that every amount of leads led to how many presentations. And so you just reverse engineer it. So activity. Most people are stuck in the gap because they're convincing themselves that they're working and they're not really working. And they don't even know that they're not working because they don't have the KPIs. And maybe, just maybe, you got to go double down this week to kind of give yourself a new standard and a new baseline. I kind of give this example. It's like Ashley that works for me. If all of a sudden I told Ashley, like, hey, if you come in for the next 30 days and you work 80 hours instead of 40 hours, just for the next 30 days, I'm going to quadruple your pay. And let's just pretend you were an employee and they said they're going to quadruple your pay if you work 110 hours a week for just 30 days. That's a lot. I know, but it's just 30 days. Would you do it? The answer is everybody would say yes. You'd be like, I'll bring my freaking sleeping bag. I'll bring a hammock. Like it's 30 days. And then you get to keep it forever. So maybe you guys just need a 30 days that looks like that and realize that it's going to increase your standard and basis. And maybe that's the thing. Activity doesn't solve every problem, but dude, it solves most of them. All right. Third thing is mindset. A lot of times, if your leads are good, your activity is good, and you're like, dude, that's a tough place to be because like I'm doing it. Your mindset might be off. You might be convinced that the leads don't work. You might be convinced that you're just kind of hopeful. Like I don't think it's going to work, but I'll just give it a shot. Like guys, that doesn't work. Like you got to be convinced that it's going to work. Like you've got to have your mind made up that there's no way you're going to lose. Now, what does that look like? That looks like visualization before you start making phone calls, affirmations, declaring that, hey, every client, they're blessed that they get to talk to me. I'm the best producer. I'm the best communicator. I got a heart that serves people, loves people, equips people. Nobody better that can be helping these clients. Like I'm the best person that could be serving them. I'm gonna have today's gonna be a great day. Like you got to have that be your language. If you got victim language, you're gonna lose. It's like Mike Tyson said. He knew before he threw a first punch that he was going to beat the guy. He just looked at him. That guy had already made himself up. He was scared. He was like, I don't think this is going to work. And then he would lose. Even if the guy was better trained, even if the guy was a better boxer, it didn't matter. Your mindset is so important. Scripture says we have dominion. That means that you have the ability to like forecast and create a future, and you have dominion over your thoughts. And but that also could be if it's not intentional, if you don't have a plan to get your mind right, you will have that work against you. It's a blessing. It's also a great curse. So mindset, what are you doing? What's your personal growth plan? What book are you reading? What podcast are you listening to? What's your affirmation look like? What does your language look like? Do you complain? Do you have excuses? Do you have justification? When you talk to other people, do you complain about other people? Do you gossip? Do you find fault in other people? Do you find fault in every situation? Or are you looking for the good in everything? Is your mind and your signal in your brain really signaled to find the good seed in every situation, every person, and every outcome? Like, what is your mindset? Guys, you could be skilled, you can have the right lead strategy, you can have the right activity, But if your mindset sucks, you will miss the mark. You will get stuck in the gap. You will die in the gap. This is something that's even more important. What is your personal growth plan? Number four is this, we're up education. Are you developing? Are you getting better at referrals? Are you getting better at IULs? Are you getting better at annuities? Are you getting better at these different things? If you're not, you're going to miss out on maybe two or three sales that you could have had that week that would have caused your profitability to 5x, because everything works a little bit, nothing works all the time. There's been weeks where I got smoked in the bread and butter, the life insurance, mortgage protection, final expense, but I find an annuity, but I find an IUL, but I write 7,000 off referrals. Why? Because the education has got to be consistent, frequent, and never ending. So what are you doing to develop yourself in these other buckets in this business to continue to get better? Because that will take a bad month and make it a good month. And so this is the reason why you die in the gap. Leads, activity, mindset, education. So unpack this, interrogate the reality of it, look at it. Don't be head faked. If you're like, Paul, I'm doing all the right things, but then you say you're not reading a book. No, you're not. Maybe that's the thing that's keeping you stuck. You've stopped reading 20 pages a day of a personal growth book that keeps your mind signaled for success. So it all has to play together. You can't be doing well in one, missing the boat in the other, and think that you're going to build something great. You will not. This is why you get stuck in the gap. So, anyways, guys, I hope this helps. I love you. Maybe look at your business, interrogate it, make some adjustments, and then ask yourself, what's the single biggest thing you can do today that's going to help you get across that gap? This stuff is simple, but you got to go you got to go execute. So, love you guys. See you.